This is Ravens Flock Talk Podcast, coming to you every week with their thoughts and opinions on each and every Ravens game. Tune in weekly and join the flock.
This is Ravens Flock Talk. I am your host, Brandon, and my dad joins me as my other host. Same old song, same old dance. John Harbaugh falls to Mike Tomlin. I mean, you talk about a neck-and-neck game. 16 first downs to Pittsburgh's 18. Third down efficiency, Ravens 4 for 11, Pittsburgh 4 for 16. We had 26 more passing yards, 2 more rushing yards than them. But the biggest thing is 12 penalties for 80 yards to Pittsburgh 7 for 45. And time of possession, Ravens 23 minutes and 38 seconds to Pittsburgh's 36 minutes and 22 seconds. And of course, turnovers, 3 turnovers to 1, and that's your ball game.
Absolutely. I don't know what's going on with the Ravens. This is the same old thing they do. Some people said this was going to be a blowout game. I don't know where they've been, because for the last 9 times we met, the score has been within 7 points or less. So you knew it was going to be one of those type of games. And as Brandon just said, turnovers are killers and penalties. I'm not sure what the Ravens are doing in terms of penalties every single game. We're the most penalized team in the league. And they got to get control. Harbaugh's got to get control of this team.
Yeah, and he never seems to have control of this team in big games against worthy opponents and contenders. You know, we've had a rotational piece of coordinator after coordinator, whether it's offense, defense, but he is the common denominator. And the buck starts and stops at the head coach. And John Harbaugh, with the penalties, it's unacceptable, and it falls on his shoulders.
I mean, it seems like the only thing he's really doing is time management, which is poor at best. We say the same thing every single week. Regarding time management in him. He doesn't call any of the offensive or defensive plays.
Yeah.
So what value? I mean, he's like a cheerleader to me. Okay, enough is enough a little bit. I don't know what to do with John Harbaugh, to be honest with you, Brandon.
I said last night, I went on Instagram Live, talked to some of the fans, and gave some of my points of view after I, dissected from this game. What asset is John Harbaugh? How is he an asset to this team? How many times do we as fans have to see him either looking confused on the sideline or complaining to the ref, or, and then you look at Mike Tomlin, who's engaged, involved, fired up, and it trickles down to the team, I mean, this team, they had multiple chances throughout the game. Every big play was called back due to a holding. We look discombobulated. And it's just like coaching, man. This team, coaching is always our Achilles heel. Always.
He just doesn't look like he has control of the team on the sideline. I don't know what it is about that look he has that looks so confused the whole entire game. I guess
he looks like a sad dog.
Yeah, I
sometimes.
guess it's just him.
Yeah.
But where's the passion? Where's the aggression on the sidelines? I don't see any of that with him. I guess it's his personality. We used to say that about Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
Used to make fans angry. It looked like he wasn't interested in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But now Harbaugh's like that. Anyway, I really don't know the answer to the coaching issue in terms of him.
But you know what, Dad? I've been watching this team since Kyle Bowler. He was my first quarterback that I've seen with this team. And we had, during the Belichick era, Brian Billick era, we had problems with penalties then.
Yeah.
With Orlando Brown, and with John Harbaugh, it's the same stuff.
Yeah.
It's the same stuff, and we can't beat these Kansas City Chiefs, Pittsburgh Steelers, and it falls on him. It's unacceptable now, and fans are sick of it. They are really sick of it because we have so much talent, and they just don't know what to do when they play teams like this.
And it's a variety of penalties, too, all different kinds of penalties. from illegal motion to formation.
Makari had like 2 ineligible man down field calls.
Yeah.
Tons of holding, of course.
Yeah.
It was just
I mean-
every big Henry, not big, but like when he would get, I don't know, 6 yards, 7 yards, a few first downs, called back.
Every time we got
Called
momentum, whether it was Henry or anybody else, it seems like when you're watching the game, every play, you're just scared they're going to throw a flag on Baltimore.
Even the players are kind of waiting.
Yeah, and
for
Lamar
the flag.
Lamar was talking after the game about how disappointed he was with the offense, but he also said every drive there was a penalty that stopped the momentum of going forward. You know,
I think of 2 plays. Now Lamar was off target. You know, he sailed it over Zay's head. I think he missed Andrews over the middle. But I think about that Nelson Aguilar catch. Lamar's creating time for himself, throws it deep. It's called back.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was another one that was called back as well, a big play. But, you know, I understand Lamar's frustration. Oh, when he was running around in the backfield and Zay drops the pass. Hits him right in the hands.
And that was a first down, too. It was a momentum killer when that happens. Right to Zay. You don't expect that in critical moments like that, in games like this where every point counts.
He made up for it at the end, but it's like, you know, it's the inconsistency with this team. It's either against worthy opponents, it's either the defense shows up and the offense doesn't, or vice versa. Yeah. But when we play a crap team, and I'm not including Cleveland and the Raiders, but like Denver, for example, 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, we just obliterated them. Both sides of the ball was great. We can do that with those type of teams, but the Kansas Cities, the Buffaloes, even though we blew them out, will we beat them now? As I don't know. Yeah. But it's always an up and down with either side of the ball.
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, I don't know. I mean, last week the defense looked horrible, looked pitiful.
Yeah.
This time, I mean, you're keeping Pittsburgh out of the end zone. That was an incredible display of defense for this team. And, you know, they were covering well this time for the most part. But
towards the end it slipped off. But the majority of the game, a lot better than the Cincinnati.
Especially in the red zone.
Yeah.
Because Pittsburgh had many opportunities to score. Mm-hmm. And, so this Boswell was just killing us, man. Every doggone drive was a field goal.
And, you know, it's a testament to this defense, the complete 360 from last week, because, as you mentioned, holding them in the red zone, 2 fumbles were when we were backed up, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we gave it to Pittsburgh. It wasn't like they had to go down the field.
Right out of the gate.
They were right there in scoring position, and we held them. Yeah. If we give up 2 touchdowns there, I mean, you're talking possible blowout, the way the offense was going.
I mean, that's Ravens.
So credit to Zach Orr, honestly. I mean, we've been tough on him as a fan base, but he showed up this game. The defense showed up, and the offense, which is supposed to be the strong suit of this team, let us down.
Yeah, I mean, that's Ravens ball. You know, that's what was neat. We're so used to that, and we're a little bit spoiled that the defense has always been like that, especially in the red zone. They bend, but they don't break, you know?
Yeah.
And gave Lamar and his offense all kinds of opportunities on this game to score and put this game away, you know? But again, Brandon, for you talk about you watch them, from my perspective, looking at Pittsburgh over the years, we always play them the same way. Always. And I don't know.
It's almost like we play scared, honestly.
Yeah. We don't play loose. We don't, you know, it's a hard-fought game. But still, I mean, I don't know. It's some kind of aura with Pittsburgh and the Ravens, and they have our number, and we have to admit that.
But you know what? That's when I'm like, I look at John Harbaugh and his demeanor and expression going into Pittsburgh, and it's like, dog. I mean, I see now why we almost cower to them.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like if your head coach is looking like that, this is the game, dude.
This
is the rivalry. It's always been a 2-team division. A few years, like Baker that 1 year with Cleveland, Joe Burrow. But at the end of the day, it's always been Pittsburgh, Baltimore in this division. Mm-hmm. You get up early for games like this, right. and I just don't see that with John Harbaugh. And it's year after year we're saying the same thing over and over. It's like a repeated, broken record. Because we talk about this every week now.
Yeah.
And we've been doing it for a few years.
Where is the dog in him? That was a good word. Where is the dog in Harbaugh leading his troops into battle?
Yeah.
That was a very physical game. They were fighting as the usual Pittsburgh Ravens game, fighting and scrapping, and Humphrey was an animal out there.
This is for the division too, to get ahead up. Right, and maintain it, and have your destiny in your own control.
So we can't complain about the defense. We just can't. They really played one hell of a game, and that's to their testament. That be physical like that, and they were. So I have no complaints about them.
The only complaint I have on defense is Brandon Stevens. He is, he was the unsung hero last year. We complimented him a lot.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people were talking about him, and he's just lost it. He doesn't ever make a play on the ball. And I thought they waited too late to put in Tre'Davious White. He broke up 2 potential touchdowns on Pickens.
Passes, yeah.
They waited until the beginning of the fourth quarter to put him in. And, to the Ravens' credit, they're making changes. They're not just sticking to their guns and being stubborn. Marcus Williams got sat again for Ardarius Washington, who is moving from corner to safety.
Right.
Right.
Eddie Jackson.
Eddie Jackson, the second game now. He
not injury related.
A healthy scratch. Mm-hmm. So they're evaluating and making changes, and I think next week you have got to put Tre'Davious White as a starting corner. You have to.
Yeah, and put Brandon. I think they were putting him in the slot, and that's where he belongs. So it kind of reminds me. When Patrick Queen was here, he was ineffective until Roquan came, and then they utilized him correctly. So he's not a good pass defender, never was and never will be. So, Roquan took that role and freed him up to do what he did.
But of course, he makes the play just before halftime, of all people.
Yeah, of all people.
And
he strips it and recovers the ball.
And you know what? It's funny. In years prior, the Ravens probably would have just kneeled it, right? And just gone into half. And I told you at that moment, I want to see, I think we had 2 timeouts at the time.
Yep.
I want to see them. Do you want to win this game? Do you want to go for it? And I was happy they did. Even though Tucker missed it, give him another chance. Maybe he makes it. Go down, get in field goal range. You have time. You have some time to work with. You have 2. I think it was 2 timeouts. And of course, when we try to be aggressive, likely fumbles the ball.
Yeah.
Fighting for extra yards that wouldn't have made any difference. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
It really is.
These are the things that separate a great team from a good team. We're like in the middle of the pack, it seems, right now. I don't know what to think about the Ravens.
What they do is they tease you. They tease you with games when you're like, who's going to ever stop this offense? And then they have games like this. And now you're like, I don't know what to think of the team.
And then we have Todd Monken, which we talk about week to week. It's either he's a hero or he does something unbelievably. I mean, Rex Ryan was talking today and said it was a criminal offense that Henry was not on the field on that 2-point conversion, and I like those words. It is. He said, "What did you bring this guy in for? He is built to play against
at the end of games.
At the end of games, and he's built to play against Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
He's 260 pounds, and Rex was saying, who's gonna want to mess with him?
Yeah, on that 2-point conversion. Now we're on the topic of it, right? That was the topic of discussion this game. I would have been okay if they didn't get it had Henry been on the field. But not only did you not have Henry on the field, Zay Flowers wasn't on the field. None of your weapons.
Yeah, I mean...
They were telegraphing. And if you notice, too, they called a timeout just before, and the ball was hiked, and Lamar was about to run.
Yeah.
So they were already telling Pittsburgh what they want to do. They trot back out on the field and do the same exact thing. Yeah. And I was thinking, okay, they have a second chance to put Henry on the field.
Yep. And they didn't do it. Brandon and I are screaming at the TV. Saying, where is he?
He's your second best offensive player.
And he's got to be the decoy. This is the whole point of bringing this 2-headed monster to these defenses. They don't know what to do. And then Lamar had a fantastic run, faking it to Henry.
In the first quarter.
In the first quarter.
Right after we stopped them on 4th and 1.
I mean, a huge hole. He gains over 20 yards. I mean, that is why we brought Henry in for a number of reasons. Yeah. And especially in the fourth quarter, and especially in the red zone. What the hell, Todd Monken? Yeah. What are you thinking? The whole country is saying that, and they're not even Ravens fans. They're saying, what is going on?
And you know what's crazy? I literally said this last year. we would say the same thing about Gus Edwards. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
told you in our off-season episode, I said, people that aren't Ravens fans don't really know who Gus Edwards is unless you just are really involved in football, right? But I said, when we brought in Derek in our off-season episode, I said it's going to make it even more abysmal and egregious if
he
we do the
doesn't do
same thing
thing.
with Derrick Henry, who's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he did it.
Yeah,
he
this,
did
This
it.
is the second time he's done it, and
He
he's
iced
not
the
even.
game for us in Cincinnati. How many late games did Henry just solidify the win for us?
No, with a long run or a first down,
2-point conversion, you got to get this.
Yeah, I mean,
Put him on the field.
and I don't like that play with the option with Lamar on that play. I mean, this is at the end of the game. They're tired. You put in your workhorse. You put in your thoroughbred, and you run it down their throats.
Smash mouth football at that point.
Just run it in.
It's
you
all
know?
about will at
Yeah,
that point.
tell 'em
Ravens,
who's gonna,
Steelers,
Yeah, who's going to stop who?
guys like Ray Lewis live for that moment.
And this, this was our chance, man. We finally came to the point where we were tied up. We were behind the whole game.
Yeah.
And
we had chance after chance. And this was the moment. But you know what's funny? I wasn't confident they were going to make it. Because if we know, right, what we called it.
I know.
With the Hill's in the back, he's not getting the ball.
I mean,
everybody knew it was going to be Lamar.
They telegraph it, and that's one of Moncton's favorite plays with Lamar at the end of the game. Like
Greg Roman did that.
Yeah, all the time.
All the time.
So,
never gave it to Gus, who was our biggest running back at the time at the goal line.
You can see that Brandon and I are frustrated because we've seen this picture before. We've seen this play before. And I have no faith in Todd Monken and his ability to make the right call at the right time.
In big moments.
In big moments. Thank you.
Big moments.
I was going to say against premier teams.
Because we praise him, right? But
yeah.
we praise him against,
Denver.
Whatever the case may be. But when it's a divisional game or the season on the line, Ravens fans, can you trust this guy to make the right call?
Or a playoff game. I mean, he did the same thing with Kansas City.
If he gave it to Henry, right, and he gets obliterated up the middle,
I'm okay with it.
Fine.
And you know what? Everybody knew if he's on the field, everybody should know he's getting the ball, so one-on-one. Yeah. But when he's not on the field, we all know it's going to be Lamar. I mean, there was no disguise at all.
What's the chances of Henry going down after the first contact?
I know.
He's gonna drag somebody, break something, push for an extra 2 yards. That could be the difference between getting a touchdown and not, or in that case, a 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's so unreal to me that an average fan like us can see this so clearly, but a coach on his own team in the most critical situation on a division game for first place in the AFC North, makes a dumb call like that.
And not only that, too, you know what kills me is we fall in this Lamar save us role. And we brag so much about how many ways we can beat this team, but maybe it's a detriment to us because we got too many options and we don't have an identity and know what to do, right? Whereas Pittsburgh, they don't have as many weapons. They're going to run the ball and occasionally beat you over the top with Pickens and hope that the defense holds. That's how they win games. But really quick, on that Lamar thing, Lamar doesn't go unscathed either. As you said, he needed the run. He was off with his throwing and his accuracy. The O-line was holding. And another thing is Steelers get to the quarterback on average 2.38 seconds. Lamar, on average, holds the ball 4.6 seconds before he releases it. You can't sit back there against Pittsburgh, especially with this offensive line getting pushed around and holding. He needed to go down and run if the receivers weren't getting open by any means necessary. And it was a slap in the face when we watched Josh Allen on that 4th and 1 say, I'm taking it myself against Kansas City, and I'm going to win the game.
Not only did he get the first down, he got into the end zone.
That's what I'm saying.
And
by any means necessary. I love Lamar Jackson. But if your arm's not going to take you there, you got to use your legs. Yeah, that's what you lost weight for. All the muscle to get faster. Take the ball, go north and south, stop galloping, all this extra juke. North and south, get the yardage, get the first down, and continue the chains.
I mean, I saw that play with Josh, And this guy, he has 50 pounds on Lamar, and he looked twice as fast as him on that run because he just ran north and south.
He's just a reckless runner.
And he wasn't going to let anybody take him down. And Lamar has to make these decisions quicker. Lamar, for God's sake, there was so many opportunities to get a first down. I think we were like 0-8 in the first half of third down conversions.
If he decides to just run, nobody's catching. He's the fastest guy on the field. And if you look at Lamar early in his career, when he wasn't as good of a thrower, and especially in college, he ran with such aggression and recklessness. It was none of this fancy, let me gallop. It was just, I'm going to get to the end zone if it's the last thing I do. And I don't see that with him anymore.
I don't either.
I don't.
And I think it's a psyche, I believe, in his mind that he has a quarterback and he has to prove to people he can throw the ball. This is
listen, throw style points out. You got to get the win by any means necessary.
Especially in a game like this that was so close, Lamar. Take it on your shoulder, put this game on your shoulders. And in the third and fourth quarter, he had opportunities to run that ball, and nobody was getting open. That was the other thing. He had time. I give the offensive line
If no one's getting open, you got to go.
Yeah.
You got to go.
Yeah, stop trying to do the superhero thing.
It's the same thing as the AFC Championship game against Kansas City last year.
Yeah.
We're yelling at the screen, run!
Run.
I mean, he's just waiting for... No one's getting open. Then go. And that's a problem, too. When you need your guys, your Mark Andrews, your Zay Flowers to come up big for you in these games, they're not getting open. Yeah. I mean, it makes it harder for Lamar. I get it, but that's why he's just got to say, I got to win it myself, and he's good enough to do it. He knows it. He believes in himself. So that's why it's befuddling for us to see him not just go.
What's interesting when you're watching a game, I can imagine a non-Raven fan. You can just clearly see Lamar is the best player on the field on both teams. It's amazing. That's what I love about him, but he does frustrate me with his decision making lately, and his throwing was off Sunday. It was just off. He was not accurate. I don't know. Sometimes it's like that, and so he should have kind of recognized that. His receivers weren't giving him help.
Yeah,
and dropping.
And another thing too is you had nothing going in the pass game. This is what also frustrates me with Baltimore, and I saw it with Greg Roman when he was here. We panic. And I knew when Henry fumbled early, we were going to bail on him. Yeah. He had 13 total carries, guys. 13. Now Harbaugh we're not gonna try to run it 30 times, but can you try to establish the run? They didn't attempt one run on TJ Watt's side.
I know.
I mean, are you being a P? Are you being a wimp? Or are you going to try to go out and say, we're not afraid of you guys?
Yeah,
this is Ravens football. What are we doing?
Yeah, I mean,
give this guy the ball. Can you try to establish the run?
Let TJ Watt aggressiveness help you by running right by you. He was unabated on a couple plays with Lamar with nobody in the backfield blocking and doing any of that, and they were running to the other side, which was a good thing. But you use his aggression against us. Everybody knows that with these edge rushers like that. So you hit
one play where he blew up. I don't know who it was, whether it was Henry or Hill in the backfield, unblocked. I mean, how does that happen?
I know.
To me, he's the best defensive player in the league. I mean, I respect him a ton. I really do. Even though he's a Steeler, he's one of the Steelers that I just can't hate on.
They were actually putting Ricard on him to like a chip block, and come on,
No, but I agree with that. Well, get an extra body on
him.
Him.
I'm talking about solo. It was just him. The offensive line, the guard wasn't even there.
To not account for him some plays is just crazy. It's just crazy.
Unless you just did it intentionally, Zach, so that they would go unabated, like I said, and just do that kind of a play, run away from him. I can see that.
Either way, though, it's just like when you're not running towards his side at all, it just shows me you're afraid. It just, you got to try. You got to try. This is, this is why they own us. It reminds me of Pedro Martinez when he said, Yankees are my daddy, because he just knew he couldn't beat them. Yeah, right. And that's how I feel with Baltimore. We cower to these teams. We're so, and even as fans, it trickles down to us where I don't have a belief that we can win these games. Yeah. And that's a bad feeling. Yeah. There was times I sometimes felt like that when Ray was here. But I never felt like how I felt now because we had leaders in Ray and Ed, and I just believed they were going to lift this team up.
Well, it's a different feeling for me is that the ball always bounced the right way for Pittsburgh watching them over the years when Ben was around. You know, it seemed like every fumble and everything went their way. That was my big thing with Pittsburgh. I was always worried and on pins and needles watching the game, and because they were always so close. And one little fumble and one turnover would dictate the game. So this is a different feeling here now.
But in years prior, they have way better offenses. Yeah. Way better offenses. They beat us without scoring a touchdown.
I know, which is unheard of. It's just unbelievable.
If you're a Steelers fan, you deserve to brag about that and make fun of Ravens fans. Yeah. Your so-called MVP, we just beat you without scoring a touchdown.
Yeah.
If you're a Ravens fan, you got to take it on the chin today. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's pitiful.
How can you argue that?
It's pitiful.
So,
it really is.
Frustrating game.
We're frustrated, guys. I want to also say this, though, but we prepared ourselves for this. Even though it doesn't sound like it, you know, of course, now we're talking about it, the emotions get brought back up. Yeah. But I didn't expect us to go in here and blow them out. We never do.
No, we never do.
I expected some BS to happen, and it did happen right in the beginning of the game with the Henry fumble. I say, here we go, and then Tucker misses it. Yeah. And we got to talk about Tucker. We really do. You know, I told my dad, in this type of game, when it's Ravens-Steelers, field goals are like touchdowns. You cannot leave points on the board. Mm-hmm. You cannot. And he misses the first one after we stopped them on 4th and 1.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
To negate the fumble early in the game. And then the same exact kick, the same way, and this guy's confidence is shot. And like I said earlier, the Ravens have been trying stuff. You know, they pulled Eddie, they pulled Marcus, they're moving people in different positions. Well, now you got to try something at the kicker position. He's a staple in Ravens history. I get it, right? But this is not a buddy. This is the NFL. Right?
Yeah.
And this is not family. You got to produce and you got to win games.
Yeah.
And you have a kicker that's not confident. You got to send them down, practice squad, and try a new kicker. As much as it hurts me to say, and we all love Tucker, come on. Yeah. Is it about coddling feelings or is it about winning games?
Yeah, I mean, this is not just one game either.
Yeah.
So and you can kind of see it in his body language, his face. He doesn't look like he doesn't look like the confident kicker that we're used to at all.
Yeah.
I just don't know what happened so fast, too. Brandon and I were talking about this seems to be happened so fast this year that he went into a downward spiral. I just think he just lost his confidence. And, missing extra points and stuff. I mean, we used to walk away with a 50-yard field goal. We wouldn't even watch
and
it.
an extra point.
It was just automatic.
And an extra point.
You never had this feeling. So, not sure what to do with that situation.
I was literally nervous after Henry got the big run against Cincinnati early in the season. I was nervous if Tucker was going to make it, and that was less yardage than an extra point.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how much
shaky
we feel with Tucker. And the salt in the wound was seeing Boswell make all those kicks in the same game, right? And then the game after, seeing Josh Allen ice it with his legs and go all out, you know? Those were the two salt in the wound where I'm like, man, had Lamar just taken off a few times, had Tucker made those kicks. So it was a slap in the face to see that.
I mean,
woulda, coulda, shoulda,
you
know?
I mean, kickers are human too, but Here, we're spoiled in terms of looking at other teams with shaky kickers, and knowing that we have the most secure kicker out there in the league.
This year it flipped.
But it flipped the script.
Everybody's making it.
Everybody's
Tucker was the asset. He was the anomaly because he was the only one that could make that kick. And
Boswell was 3 50-yard plus field goals, I believe.
Automatic.
And right down the middle, too.
And
no
what's
question
crazy
about
is, like, as bad as our offense was, had he missed one of them, maybe we would have pulled out with a win.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know,
But maybe kickers are like golfers. Sometimes you just lose your swing, you lose your confidence, and it's over. Like putting, you can't make a 2 or 3 foot putt in golf when you lose your confidence like that. It has happened to golfers before.
Yeah.
So
and he's not hiding it. You can see it in his facial expression and his body language, and that's why I'm saying you got to put him on the practice squad now or do something because he doesn't, if it falls down to a field goal, right, to win the game or tie it, do we have confidence in him? Does he have confidence in himself? Yeah. He made the, 54-yarder to keep us in range. Yeah. But those 2 field goals to set the tone, to negate the fumble in the beginning of the game, and then tack on more points for a lead, he missed them both. Yeah. Missed them both. And I told you at the attempt of the second kick, I said, if he misses this, we're gonna lose.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna lose.
And you make a great point with the fumble with Henry. We just knew as soon as that happened, we go away against our game plan, like you mentioned. And sure enough, that's exactly what Todd did. And he needs to stop doing that.
We panic.
I mean, no other coach does that. Pittsburgh was sticking to their run game the whole game and wasn't making hardly any yardage.
I know.
But they're stubborn like that. They refuse to not try to run.
Because they're like, eventually one of these are going to break.
Are going to break.
And a few of them did.
They did.
That's what you do.
And Henry broke a few, the limited times he was touching the ball.
And what happened? Holding, it would negate it.
I just had a thought.
Because we're undisciplined.
Harbaugh says, I don't want him to carry 30 times a game. Well, look, you accomplished it. You hardly used him in the first half or in third quarter. So now he's fresh. And now when you need him, you don't put him in?
Even the commentator was like...
They couldn't believe it.
No, what they said was after the fumble, after you saw Henry slam his helmet on the sideline, they go, I feel sorry for whoever's got to tackle him now because he's going to be pissed off. Yeah. That was his first fumble in like 500-something carries.
Yeah. And they don't put him in. Now you got an angry runner.
Exactly.
And you're not going to put him in.
You're not going to feed
So now
the
he's going to
beast.
sulk on the bench. If I was him, I would be questioning why I came to Baltimore. I really would if I'm him. And I hope he doesn't.
Not only that, Dad, the last drive, he wasn't on the field. Forget about the 2-point conversion that we mentioned earlier. The whole drive, he wasn't out there. Mm-hmm. He's your second best offensive player. He's your decoy. He's your asset. He's your weapon. It's like pulling Kobe Bryant late in the game. What are you doing?
I know. I mean,
live and die with your star players.
It's just mind-boggling, and that's why we're frustrated, guys, out here. I mean, this is not the first time Todd has done that either.
And another thing too, when you said about John talking about we're not gonna overuse Henry and give him 30-something carries, he exaggerated on that, which I still hate that quote to this day. But you know what I would say to John? You lost playoff games because you didn't run the ball.
Yeah.
How crazy? How dare you say that? Mm-hmm. You lost because you carried it only 6 times in the AFC Championship game. You lost in 2019 when we went 14-2, the number 1 seed. You lost because remember Lamar threw that pick early in the game, and we never
recuperated.
We just abandoned the run game, and that whole year we were running it like crazy.
And the reason why Brandon is blaming Harbaugh instead of Todd Monken because he is the leader. You call up Todd and you say you start running the damn ball. I mean, if you're not running,
you have the authority to override things.
Yeah, call
John.
him up in the booth and say start running the damn ball.
I just can't believe that he says things like that when we lost games by not running it.
How many games do we have to lose in these critical situations to change? It's almost like he's just a stubborn guy that never learns. Never learns. He's lucky to even have a job because Lamar saved it. Yeah. Do the right thing now, John. We've literally pissed away Super Bowl years because of being stubborn, because of being stupid, because of because of panicking. Dude, we panicked this game. It was a 1-possession game the whole game. I know.
One touchdown, you're in the lead. Yeah. We're panicking and throwing the ball left and right when no one can get open in the offensive line. Lamar's back there running around. We're acting like we're down 2 scores, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Calm down, guys. I mean, we panic all the time when we don't have the lead.
And I'll be honest, Brandon. That's where Kansas City is at their best because Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they never panic. They never go away from their game. Never. And week after week, we say on this podcast, we never know what Todd's going to do or Harbaugh. We just don't know, and that's not right. I mean, stick to your game plan, and that's the head coach and the offensive coordinator. Stick to your damn game plan.
And I've always said, I said this last night on our page, I always said whoever our offensive coordinator is the head coach.
Yeah.
Because if they have a bad game play calling, it's over. What does John do? Is he going to tell? It doesn't seem like it.
It sure
I'll
doesn't.
never forget when we're watching the championship game last year. John comes out of halftime.
Oh, yeah.
And he gets interviewed, and he goes, "We're gonna run the ball more."
Yeah.
What a You almost like spit in the fans' face by saying that, and they trotted out there and never ran it at all.
Yeah, 6 times in the entire game.
And he said, "We're gonna run the ball." So as fans, how do you what do you think? What do you say about that? What is there to believe?
And then he
You
always,
know?
and good old John always has an excuse post game. Why he did it, and it's never his fault. He never takes blame, and that's the other part that I'm not a fan of with him. Okay, so
He
like
looked
Tomlin,
like I actually
will
watched
take,
it for the first time.
Tomlin will
Oh,
take
yeah.
ownership, and he'll
He
blame
keeps it
everything
real.
on him.
He
Yeah.
keeps it real.
So and Andy Reid too. He keeps it real when he win or lose.
Yeah.
So you know what, John? Yeah.
But this was the first time I actually watched John's post game because after losses like this, I don't even want to hear anything, all the excuses or the one-liners. And I watched the whole thing, and he looks so beat down and beat up, and he should. He should feel stupid because this guy Tomlin's got your number, dude.
Yeah, and you
Got your number.
You had so many opportunities. That's what would get me as a coach. You had plenty of opportunities that you wasted. And these penalties just killed you. So that's practice, people. That's game time practice. Because obviously something is wrong there.
We used to
The most
always
penalty. We're a team that always gets
always
penalized.
we all in any era
Yeah,
from McNair to Bowler to Flacco, always. That's why we were so jealous of the Patriots in their heyday.
So
disciplined they
Yeah,
were.
yeah.
They never did stupid decisions to hint. It's always Ravens versus Ravens. We shoot ourselves in the foot.
Yeah, and the personal fouls too. Is out of control. Keep your emotions, okay, play physical, but don't play stupid. Keep your emotions in control. That's what I say, and I know it's hard. I mean, that was a hard fought game.
But a few of those, to the Ravens' credit, a few of those were BS, like that offensive lineman getting into it with Marlon, pushing him after the play.
Grabbing his helmet.
And of course, the guy who retaliates gets the flag.
Yeah.
As if that guy just didn't just push him after the play was dead. What are you're going to push him back? Get off of me. So to Marlon's credit, I understand that. And we get penalized for it too. That's what kills me. They instigate it, but then when we retaliate to defend ourselves, rightfully so, we get the flag as well.
Far too often in those critical situations and close games, that's what the Ravens tend to do. And then Cincinnati does that. Cincinnati is known for that, being stupid at the end of the game and losing it on penalties. You gotta be more in control. Anyway, taking a breath.
Yeah,
it
you know
happened.
what? It sucks though. The
yeah.
last thing I'll say is because we blew the Cleveland game, because we blew the Raiders game, you had to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
If you won those 2 games, you could kind of actually afford to lose this game.
Yeah.
Because you would be in first place,
And
you had some games to drop and not panic. Right now, it would have stunk if you lost this game had you won those 2 games, right? Because of course, Steelers division game. But you're not like, oh man, we're still in first place. But we shot ourselves in the foot, and we deserve to lose that game. We deserve to lose that game. 3 turnovers, it's unacceptable. All the penalties, the time of possession, they controlled it all. They controlled it all. So next week we have to play the Chargers, and we saw what happened last night. They almost blew it, but they edged it out, and this is a game of seeding now in the playoffs. Because
and guess what? Jim's going to stick to his game plan
Oh, my
all
God,
game.
yes.
He ran. He didn't care. And that's the difference between Jim and John.
And it's going to be an embarrassing loss if your brother, who was in college for so many years, finally comes back to the NFL, right, and beats you after you have a 2-time MVP and already have your foundation and team laid out. Jim's still trying to get things in motion and his team
his first
under
year.
his new regime. You can't lose to your brother, John. I'm sorry. You got to win that game. So it's a huge game, especially that they beat Cincinnati last night. And you know, the Ravens, man, after this loss, you better come out swinging. You better come out swinging. You better be on point to a T, no stupid penalties, you know, and win and die with your star players, Lamar and Derrick Henry.
You know, something I didn't consider, too, is at the end of the game, Brandon, Roquan, he has a hamstring, and Kyle has some shoulder injury.
But he was, I mentioned, on the last play to ice the game, he was like all the way like 15, 20 yards away from everybody. He was limping hopping on one foot.
I know. I saw that.
You know?
So think about going to the next 2 or 3 games with our type of schedule without a Roquan and a Hamilton and see what happens then.
And they run the ball.
They're the 2 top tacklers of the team.
Yeah.
If they're both out, we're toast. We're toast. So I'm just praying that it's not as bad. Those injuries aren't as bad.
But that's
as
typical after Pittsburgh. You know, people get hurt.
Yeah.
People get hurt, you know.
That's true.
But of course, it had to be our 2 star guys. And Kyle's already hurt.
I know.
You know,
The ankle,
gets hurt on the Russell Wilson tackle. So we'll see. But this team, man, backs are against the wall.
Yeah.
You gotta show out now. You know, I thought they learned, but obviously, we put too much confidence and faith.
We like the fight in them, especially the defense on this game, Brandon.
You just got to get over the hump.
But the character they have and not sticking to what they should be doing is what hurts.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that really
year
hurts.
after year after year.
How many times do we have to have this discussion, you know? I don't, like you said, the last thing I'm going to say is I don't mind if Henry's on the field and he didn't make that 2-point. I have
totally
no
agree.
issue with that.
I totally
In fact,
agree.
I'm complimenting Todd for keeping to his game plan. But when you don't, then we got a problem. Yeah. There's a problem. And the penalties
with the game on the line.
With the game on the line, and
With the
penalties
game
have
on
got
the
to
line.
stop on this team. It just has to. Or else you're shooting yourself in the foot every game. So we'll see.
I totally agree. We'll see what happens, but this was a crushing blow, and Pittsburgh once again beats us. Same old song, same old dance, and it sucks. It really does. But you know what? We live and die by the Ravens. We love this team. We support this team, and our confidence in this team may be shot down a few notches, but we still believe that they can somehow manage and pull it out. It just depends on coaching. That's the biggest factor. So hopefully the coaching pulls through next week, and by the next time you guys hear us, it'll be a different tone, a different aura. Hopefully
a different feeling. You know. So, all right.
But appreciate everybody that joined on the live. It was fun talking to you, hearing you guys' thoughts. Hey, we hear you guys. We feel what you guys are feeling. I think everybody feels the same way. So we just wanna change with this team. So let's hope for a different result next week, and we will hopefully get the win, and you'll hear from us in a different tone.